Hello everyone, welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name is Steve Jackson. Remember me?
No.
I used to do this.
Who are
I used to do this show a little while ago. You might remember. And,
I'll tell you, Jen doesn't look as good this week.
And that's the most true thing that you've said for many a year. So yes, this is of course Ian Waterhouse.
Hello.
Good evening, Ian. And of course, yes, you mentioned that. Congratulations to Jen Myers, who kindly stepped it in for me into my shoes a couple of weeks ago and did the podcast with yourself and did a fantastic job, didn't she?
She did a wonderful job, actually, Steve. In fact, I was debating whether it was worth you actually coming back, but yeah, I thought, all right, we'll give him another chance.
Give me one last go, and then my swan song. So there you go. So, right now, this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 30, and our subject this evening is junior competition formats. Now, as you well know, Ian, the beauty about golf is that there are so many different scoring formats. Mm-hmm. It's Stableford, medal, match play, team competitions, Texas Scramble, pairs, better ball, foursomes, greensomes, flag competitions, and many more.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I was thinking about this earlier. It's probably unlike any other sport. I was trying to think of another sport which has so many different types of scoring formats. I mean, you think about football. Most goals wins. That's about it, really, isn't it? In football,
Well, in most sports, you're absolutely right. Really, I mean, I suppose.
Cricket possibly, but then even that's just the amount of overs, really, isn't it?
It's still the same scoring, though, isn't it? It's still it's just different formats of. That's just over formats, isn't it? Whereas, I suppose golf, really, if you look at it from the outset, it's still trying to get. It doesn't matter which format you're trying to play. You're trying to get a little ball into a hole, aren't you? So,
that's the main gist of it. Yes. Now there are no right or wrong formats to play in the game of golf, but
there is. And match play, from a broadcasting point of view, match play is the right format for everybody to do. So please heed that. Anybody starting up a new golf tournament, match play is the future, I'm telling you.
but now, having said that, there are definitely some formats which do suit different people. I'm talking about junior golf, obviously, different ages, perhaps different sizes, different abilities, boys and girls, even different clubs and different counties, junior tours. They all have different ways of doing things, and like I said, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. But I think it's important that we look at those different formats and try and help assess and find out what could work best for you. If you're a junior tour, if you're a junior golfer, if you're a parent, what kind of format works best for you, and trying to get the best out of playing this game of golf. So to help us to do this, we're going to have a couple of pre-recorded interviews which we did with UK Kids organiser Nathan Jackson and Irish Junior Open Tour director Michael Gallagher, who also runs the Champion of Champions tournament. Both of those have been on the show before, but it's always nice to have a new guest on the Progress Junior Golf podcast. So joining us live is going to be England Golf Young Ambassador Courtney Martland. So we'll get a junior perspective on the topic, and we'll discuss some of the different formats that are out there. Now, I know that you like to ask a question, put a question out there. I don't know whether you've got one set up at all, but I'll give you one now, which I think is the right one for this podcast. What's your favourite format of playing golf? You said match play. That's for when you're as broadcast. What playing wise? Is that still your favourite?
No, because I normally get beat when I play match play.
There's nothing worse than getting beaten 10 and 8, is there?
I don't mind Stableford, to be fair, because you can get away with picking up your ball every now and again. So
yes, it comes to useful. It's very interesting actually when we talk to Michael Gallagher. Some of the things that he says, and he uses the word the purest form of the game is is stroke play as opposed to Stableford, and he's right in that, in the sense of, but it can work against you as well, because obviously, like you say there, you can't pick the ball up. You have to hit every single shot, and it can be tough at times. But yeah, so it'd be fascinating to hear what people's favourite format of playing golf, and obviously this is a junior podcast, so juniors, it could well be different from adults. If I'm being honest, possibly my favourite format is pairs competition. I enjoy playing around the golf with someone else. It also means that if I make a complete hash of all of them, that I can at least I can get bailed out by my playing partner, and equally so, it's a social game, so it's always good to go around with someone else and enjoy it. So
that's why four ball better ball. That's another one.
Absolutely, yes.
I never get. We never play my ball.
No, true. Foursomes is obviously a tough format as well, because we are going to go into a little bit more detail with Courtney about this, so I won't say too much now. Right, let's first things first then. Let's cover the junior golf news then, because we've got a fair bit to cover, because I only covered a little bit a couple of weeks ago. Right, most of the competitions overseas, as you can imagine, still winter golf at the moment. So South African Amateur Championship, then 19-year-old Frenchman. Now we've covered a lot of golf over the last few weeks and months, and we mentioned a lot of golfers who we think might go on to become really good. I got a feeling this kid's got some talent here, because Martin Couvreur, his name is, a French golfer. He's won the South African Amateur Championship. He beat Kyle De Beer. There he is with the trophy. 3-2 in the 36-hole final at Mount Edgecombe. Now, the reason why this is someone to watch out for is because he's just completed a hat-trick of victories, because he also won the South African Stroke Play Championship a couple of weeks earlier. And the qualifying for that amateur championship as well, he won the stroke play qualifying as well. So he won the South African Stroke Play Championship, he won the stroke play qualifying separate tournament to play in the match play, and then went through and then won the match play. So this is some kid he also played in a pro event, or an amateur and pro event, towards the end of last year, and won that as well. So this is a kid who's got a bit about him, and I think he's one to watch out for. In that South African Amateur Championship, best of the British and Irish golfers, Matthew McLean made it through to the semi-finals, and England's Mark Stockdale, he made it through to the last 8. Mark, a good friend of mine actually, and I was watching him, and I was thinking he might make it through to the semi-finals. He was 3 with 3 to play. You mentioned about match play being the best format to cover. 3 with 3 to play. The guy he was playing against birdied 2 of the holes, won the last 3 holes, got into then sudden death, and the guy holed out from 70 yards on the 3rd playoff hole to win the match. So
that, Steve, is entertainment. That is drama. That is a never say die attitude, isn't it? And that is Absolutely. What sport is about.
Absolutely. So I was obviously disappointed that Mark missed out on getting through to the semi-finals, but well done to the guy who was playing against who did that. So, right, staying overseas then, did mention competitions overseas. Faldo Elite Series, their first one they've run. This goes up to the age of 25. So some of the players we mentioned here, Mark will be not necessarily.
Where was this played, Steve?
This was played at El Prat in Spain, just outside Barcelona. It's a golf course, which I've played before. Or I say golf course. It's got, I think, 5 loops and 9 holes now. I'm not sure which loops that they played for the tournament.
If Matthew's watching, by the way, if Matthew Faldo's watching, still waiting for my invite. By the way,
for the grand final, yes.
To last year's grand final, so I still haven't had that in the post. I assume it was Royal Mail's fault.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, must be, yes. Right, winner of that competition, I think the Spanish golfers did really well in this. Louis Massafé won, he plays out in Madrid, he won 5 under par. Ruben Luferti Montese, who's a home club player, he finished 2nd, just 1 shot behind. Joint 3rd, another home club player, Marcel Fonseca Aguilera. Actually, he was leading, shot 65 in the first round. Didn't do quite so good in the second round, but he finished joint 3rd. And the person who finished 3rd, a guy who plays out of Antwerp Golf Club called Lev Grinberg. But I have to mention as well, he plays at Antwerp Golf Club, but he's a Ukrainian golfer, so well done to him. Nice. I put a bit of a smile back on his country's face there. So, and I mentioned that the guy who finished 3rd, shot 65 in the first round, didn't do quite so well in the second round. But the 3 players who battling out for the victory all came in with 68, so it sounds like a quite an exciting finish to that competition. So well done to the Faldo Series there. Just to mention as well that they've got further elite events coming up at Haswell, Welham Garden City. Got one up in Scotland in June, Trenton and Luton Hoe. They might have another 1 or 2 as well, which they're going to announce as well. They also had the Junior Tour, which as we remember, The junior tour last year would have been got up to under 21. I think the junior tour now is up to 18-year-olds. They've got events scheduled at Brocket Hall, some very familiar places here, which we've covered events at Brocket Hall, the Asprey, Dunstanburgh Castle, a couple of ones which we've not been to, Isle of Purbeck and Convy. Then they've got one up in Scotland in late August at 3 courses, Carnoustie, Montefiore and Panmure. And then the grand final, of course, which will take place at UAE, which I'm sure you'll get an invite for this year. And it's split. So they've got the Elite Tour, they've got the Junior Tour, they've also got the Futures Tour as well, as yet waiting for dates and venues to be confirmed as far as that's concerned. Right, British Junior Golf Tour, they had an event, a World Championship event, World Junior Golf Championship over at Amadora in Portugal. Overall winner of that competition was Alex Wells from St George's Hill, 71, 73, 73. He won by 3 shots from Oliver Toya and Sam Marshall. The girls' overall winner was Ellie Lichtenheim from Buckinghamshire Golf Club. Actually, she won very well in the end, won by 11 shots from Mia Ingham. Age group categories, Jake Plum, Jackson Perry, Fraser Walters, Elijah Gibbons and Rosie Maguire. They were some of the home nation players who did well. Age group winners, though, I mean, just to say how international a field this was, age group winners from Russia, Portugal, Spain, Italy, USA, France and Lithuania as well. So sounds like a fantastic event there. Now, talking about fantastic events, I'm going to pass this one over to you. Big one coming up next week, the Sunningdale Foursomes. Lots of teenagers in the field. Josh Berry, Seb Cave, Harley Smith, but lots of top quality amateur and professional golfers. Tell me more.
Well, as we know, the likes of Robert Rock, Charlie Hull, Andy Sullivan, they're all going to be there. And you can, if you tune in next Friday, watch the semi-final and final live with us at Live Sport Now. Now, to make life even easier for you, all right, so you can find out where to watch it. Here's my new toy, QR code. There it is right now. Scan that QR code right now. It will take you straight through to our channel where you can actually watch it. It's completely free. It's live and free to watch the semi-finals and final of the Sunningdale Foursomes live. That is next Friday, which is the 10th. I want to say the 10th, isn't it? March the 10th.
Yes, it is.
Now, we had the pleasure of covering it last year. Rachel Gawley and Lottie Woad won it that year. They're not in it this year, though, so who's it going to be this year? Well, we could have a few grandstand finishes, couldn't we? We really, really could. I'm very much looking forward to it. We're going to head up Tuesday. You're going to be there as well on Tuesday, aren't you, Steve, actually, so we can grab a word with some of the players. You can hear those interviews live on the Friday as well. So not only do you get to watch live golf completely for free, the semi-final and final, you can hear some interviews from some of the, shall we say, the tour star names in the field. Of course, there's a lot of them are going to be knocked out by Friday anyway, but you never know. So there you go. Scan that QR code wherever you're watching this as well. There is a link in the body of this broadcast too. Just a standard link. Give it a click. It will take you straight through to the same place as that. Live Sport Now on YouTube is the place to watch it. You can also watch it at Today's Golfer, places like National Club Golfer, India Golf Weekly. So if you're in India, you get to watch it for live and free as well. How good is that? And of course, if Steve allows, we'll put it on the Progress Junior Golf Facebook page as well to your big following on your Facebook page there, Steve. Absolutely,
and also hopefully when we're there on the Tuesday, we might be able to chat with a few of the junior golfers and professionals and amateurs and get some interviews for future broadcasts, because obviously there's going to be some people out there who have lots of opinions about junior golf, so that'll be fascinating.
100%. Before we move on as well, Steve, I've got a little present for you as well. Anybody watching, of course, and does want to find out more about Progress Junior Golf, it's not just the podcast, is it? It's a wide range of information about junior golf, where tournaments are happening up and down the country. Do head over to Progress Junior Golf. It's www.progressjuniorgolf.com. Scan that QR code, or again, there's a link in the body of this broadcast. It will take you through. And don't forget to keep your comments coming in this evening, because we also want to know what is your favourite format for golf. Mine is match play. Steve is spending time in the bar. That also happens to be mine as well. But comment below. We want to know what is your favourite format for playing golf. Okay, Steve. Sorry, back to you. There you go.
That's all right. Just a couple of things then to finish off with the news. Then, not necessarily on the golf course, but awards. Someone who's been on the podcast before, the GEO Foundation for Sustainable Golf, have been announced that the Visit Scotland, their Sustainable Golf project, has been shortlisted for the Environmental Sustainability Awards at the FIVO Sports Industry Awards. So congratulations to them. And tomorrow night, big awards night tomorrow night. It was mentioned in the last podcast, actually the last couple of podcasts. And the England Golf Awards take place tomorrow evening at the Hilton Manchester, presented by Claire Balding. So some of the awards, which are Diversity, Inclusion, Sustainability Project of the Year, County of the Year, Club of the Year, Tournament Venue of the Year, Volunteer of the Year. In particular, with the junior in mind, the Performance of the Year. Someone you mentioned a little earlier there, Lottie Wodey's up for her victory in the British Girls Championship. She was also part of the England women's team, which retained the European Team Championship. They're up for the same award. England boys champion Dylan Shaw Radford has also been nominated for the same award alongside John Goff. Women's and girls trailblazer. The nominees there: Anita Higginson, Kelly Bridges, Nikki Lawrenson, and the Girl Guiding Project. Participation and Development Coach of the Year. Some people here who've done a lot of work with junior golf: Amy Taylor, Kevin Flynn, Mike Dodd, and Aaron Lansbury, who of course was on the podcast last month. And finally, one which is very important to ourselves and one which we're certainly going to be keeping an eye out for, the Young Volunteer of the Award. It's supported by the Golf Foundation, who do a fantastic job for junior golf, and of course are helping us out with the Progress Junior Golf podcast. The 4 nominees for that are Abby Frodsham, Abigail Scott, Alex Bonfield, and Emily Horsted. So best of luck to all those people. Let's hope it's a fantastic evening tomorrow evening.
Can I just say on that as well, actually, if Ben White, by the way, is watching from England Golf, another thing I haven't been invited to.
Go on then.
Where's my invite, Ben? Why do I just never get invited to anything? It's just, what is it? What is it about me, Steve?
I've been invited.
Have you?
No, I just thought. No, I haven't. I haven't either. But then I get associated with Ian, so that's probably the reason why. Is the fact that people think, you know, that we don't invite Ian because Steve will come along, and vice versa. So that we're probably as bad as the show does. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Anyway. That wraps up the junior golf news. Then on to the podcast this evening. Then, so we're going to be talking about junior golf formats. The question again. So, anyone who wants to get in touch, what is your favourite format for playing golf, whether it's match play, stroke play, pairs, team events, Texas Scramble, flag competitions, whatever it might be. We'd love to hear from you. And also, we're going to hear from someone very important as well. We're going to hear some pre-recorded interviews with Michael Gallagher, the Irish Junior Open Tour Director, and also UK Kids Organiser Nathan Jackson. But first things first, let's get the most important person on. England Golf Young Ambassador, a debut on the Progress Junior Golf podcast, Courtney Martland. Fingers crossed that hopefully the internet connection works fine. Here's Courtney. How are we doing, Courtney?
Yeah, not bad, yeah.
I'm good. Right, so let's talk about junior golf then. Let's talk about competition formats then. So just give us an idea about how much golf you played and whether you've played in lots of different types of golf competitions.
Well, I've played since I was 38 years now. At the Lincolnshire County years, and I've done competitions throughout all my years. Absolutely enjoyed it.
Obviously, there are different types of formats. So when you first started playing golf, so you mentioned that was 8 years ago. So you were 13 at the time. What was the first format which you were given? Was it a little bit more friendly? What you tell me? What was the first kind of format you used to play?
To be fair, I was a very competitive, so I always used to play stroke play, medal, played in our little competitions because we were in our course anyway, and they are winter knockouts. I beat him off a time. It was amazing. So it was playing match play that I can more, and then from there all the fun games like your greens, your foursomes. So the stroke play that got me into it.
Okay, let's talk about medal and stroke play then. Let's bring Michael Gallagher in, the Irish Junior Open Tour Director, because he's got a big tour over in Ireland, and he uses stroke play for all of his competitions. So let's hear from him and let's explain the reasons why he prefers that as opposed to going with Stableford with junior golf. Here's Michael.
From day one, I've always been a great advocate of stroke play events. I just feel kids getting involved in golf, they need to learn how to play stroke play events. Never played a Stableford event yet in all nearly 10 years of running Irish Junior Open events. The simple reason, as I says, they're watching the guys on TV playing in stroke play events all the time, or the girls on TV, and I just feel the need to, learn how to play stroke play events. This, getting the 6 or 7 and lifting the ball, that's okay for the younger age categories where we have a limit of 8 for the 9 and unders. But for the 10-year-olds and overs, finish the round out, finish every hole out, and learn how to play, proper golf, how it was designed to be played. Stableford's fine if you're at a club competition, to speed up the play and stuff. But playing in the Irish Junior Open, we just have it straight stroke play. I tell a lie, sorry. One of our Tournament of Champions events a couple of years ago was at Royal Portrush. Basically, that's the overall champions of all the different tours. So there was about 24 players went to Royal Portrush and played the Open Championship venue. The weather that day was horrendous. It was blowing a gale, and just for simplicity that day, we just played Stableford, with all the age categories. But that was the only time in all the near 10 years. And as I say, it's the true form of golf. It's the form that kids need to learn how to play. And there's never been any problems or any issues.
Is it one of them ones whereby it teaches them good habits of learning that you can't just throw away a hole. You have to complete the hole. You have to try and, if at all possible, try and make some kind of score on a hole, even if it's going badly wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. As you say, if you're having a bad hole in the Stableford, lift up the ball, no harm done. You can birdie the next hole, and if you have a shot, you're basically back to where you were. So, it teaches you that, you have to finish out every single hole, to as best as you can. And also with regards to that, you could have a competition Stableford where a kid could have 40 points after 15 holes and ding the last 3 or 4 holes and win the competition. Whereas in stroke play, they could be going along nicely and hit the 16th or 17th hole and fire in a 10, with nerves and throw away the competition. It teaches them, that you have to play to the whistle, if you like. And that's just where we see it. And it's it's as I say, it's the true form of golf where you have to finish out every single hole and just, get used to it.
So that's Michael Gallagher talking about the Irish Junior Open and the format that he uses, which is stroke play, which is basically, for those who are unaware, it means that you count every single shot that you hit, and then at the end of the round of golf, you count up how many shots you've got, and whoever has the lowest amount of shots, they win the competition. As opposed to Stableford, whereby you're given a certain amount of points, as opposed to how many you get on each hole, and if you don't score on a particular hole, you get no points. So there are benefits and downsides to those formats. Now, Michael used the phrase there, the purest form of the game. Is that what you learned when you first started playing it that way?
Yes. Like a single game of golf is, so there's no point in learning at a young age and then going into a stroke the game of golf.
Having said that, though, there are benefits for the Stableford as well. Did you do a little bit of Stableford, but did you play a little bit of that format as well when you were young, and just to try and, because speed of play can be an issue, can't it? When you are hitting so many shots on a hole.
Yeah. To be fair, it took me a very actually learn how to do a Stableford. Everyone else did it for me, but game of Stableford, it is easier to too many shots. I'm gonna pick up holes, so it does make things a lot easier. Actually, kind of makes it as well, because obviously in stroke, playing every single shot and you nine shots before you're even in the hole. If you've got 8 shots and you've got no point, and it kind of clears your mind after a while.
I'll tell you a story about an event I was covering last year. It wasn't a junior event, it was an adult event last year, whereby the person who on the first hole 5-putted the first hole. and if you're playing in Stableford, you think to yourself, you think, oh, that's all right, I get away with that. Now this was a stroke play event, so you might think to yourself, well, that's his round gone after one hole. That person went on and won that competition still. So it proves that even when you have a bad hole, even as early as that, it doesn't mean it necessarily ruins your round. You can still come back from it. I mean, Michael used the example there of later on whereby you might be able to throw away a competition you're doing really well. But flip it the other way around, you can still come back from this, can't you?
I always say that if I birdie the first game, rephrase that. If I birdie, I'll always have a good game, have a bad game.
Right, now we are talking about medals and stroke played and Stableford and things like that. We're going to bring US Kids organiser Nathan Jackson in here because that's the format that he uses for his competitions as well. And let's go into a few more details. He's going to explain the reasons why that they do that in his competition. Let's hear from Nathan and what he has to say about it.
We've decided to do each category, just basically our competitions don't involve handicap or anything like that. So we're trying to get obviously as many juniors participating as possible. So we just decided to basically get as many kids aged like 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So as many of them as possible participating. The
playing of different teams. So why is that beneficial for a junior then? Because it's obviously, is it because it's more fairer to play off of shorter tees than longer tees for age categories?
Yeah, so some of our juniors, as I say, we started at the 6 to 7 age groups. So some of them obviously maybe only started at maybe 4 or 5 years old, some potentially younger than that. So we decided to start for them, basically, it's easier if they do play off forward and shorter tees. So it's easier for them to get around. It's a bit shorter. It's more enjoyable. I think as opposed to spending, for younger kids to be spending like 3.5, 4 hours on the golf course, personally, I think that's just too long especially for our 6, 7, like 8 and 9 age groups. So I decided to go for the 9 holes, and for the older ones, as soon as we've got like established more in the game, more understanding about it, we feel like maybe we can move on to 18 and move further back. Tee whites basically. So we can go from like reds to yellows as we obviously get older. But initially we decided for those younger age groups, it's more beneficial for them if they start off shorter. And it's just about that enjoyable aspect of it.
So the age group 6 to 7, then they're only playing 9 holes. How long would their course be?
So it'll be roughly about 1,500 yards because the standard is about over 3,000 normally on most courses. In between that, like 6,000 to like 6,500 generally. So we try and like obviously half that distance for younger ones. So put out forward tees for them to do that.
How would that change then for the next age category and then the next age category up from that?
Basically, so with 6 and 7, starting with forward tees, say doing like 1,500 yard courses. So with 6 and 7s and like 8 and 9s will be on those forward tees. And then the 10 and 11s will be on the red tees. And then 12 and 13 will be on yellow tees, for example. So just moving further back with each age group. But main thing is obviously I've got the 6 to 9 year olds. They're only doing 9 holes around the shorter course, and with UK kids we've also added in a drive chip putt element, so that's why I've sort of gone making the courses shorter.
What would the par be for the particular holes? Would you have them as par 3s, par 4s, par 5s, depending on whether they're slightly longer holes? Is that still the way that you do it?
Yeah, so ideally, if it's possible, we like to keep it like par 3, par 4, par 5s, but understand that some golf courses may only par 3 and par 4s initially, because obviously, obviously don't make the hole too long for them. But we'll basically so par 5 is probably maximum about like over 300 yards maybe for them on the par 5 sort of length, to give you a rough idea, and then thinking from that, obviously par 4s can vary from like 200 yards, and then we get into under 100 on the par 3s, obviously.
It's not Stableford, it's stroke play, is that correct?
No, so it's stroke play only. We decided that because as we've got no handicaps involved, it's the purest form of the game, but at the end of the day, it's the lowest score that wins. So we've gone with that, as I say, as we want to get as many juniors participating as possible. So we haven't put a handicap limit on that or anything. So we don't need to go into like Stapleford points or anything like that.
How does that work with boys and girls? Are they playing against each other? Or do you have separate categories for the boys?
No, so there's separate categories. So as I said, we've got our 4 age groups, but they're both for boys and girls. So you're competing against, so boys competing against age 6 and 7, girls competing against girls 6 and 7. So that's how we decided to do it. So there's separate boys and girls categories, but you're playing against that age group in within those categories.
There will bound to be, there's going to be some junior golfers out there who have handicaps, and obviously bear in mind that this is a non-handicap qualifying competition. How do you cater for them? Is it a case of you say to them, this is your opportunity to possibly get a handicap, get yourself used to playing on the golf course? Is that your thinking?
Yeah, so mainly the thing is for us is we want to get, as I say, we want to get juniors involved in the game in the first place. We want to grow the game, we want to get as many kids playing as possible. The main thing is that I don't want to focus on too much for kids that age. It is just about fun. Like, this isn't, as much as competition is great and everyone enjoys competing, this is mainly like fun competitions we want to do. So it doesn't matter if a kid, say, been playing since they're like 2 or 3 years old or anything like that, they've got into a game and you're playing against someone that's just new to it, because I feel it's beneficiary for everyone. Should be able to have that combination of fun and that competitive side, which I think is perfect. Because I don't want kids at a young age to take golf too seriously. I want to do as many sports as possible. So basically, we want to get as many kids playing, and if that's with each other, I think competitive side almost goes out the window, and you're just basically enjoying time spending with kids your own age, just playing golf around a good golf course. And that's what we try to encourage. So as much as, yes, it is a competition, we are basically just about having fun and getting kids into golf.
Website details, contact details, how can they get involved?
Yeah, so basically everyone just books for our website, which is www.ukkidsgolf.co.uk. We've got entry fee for the younger ones of £20. For anyone 6 to 9, it's £20. And they're doing 9 holes in drive, chip and putt. And for the 10 to 13 age group, it's £40. That's 18 holes. And those regional competitions will lead into a grand final. But we've then got spaces for the Champions and Champions Invitational in Ireland in 2024. So that's just an added bonus to anyone that gets through to a final will be able to participate in that event next year.
So that's Nathan Jackson from the UK Kids organisation, which organises junior competitions. And we will go into a bit more details about that Champion and Champions event because we've got Michael Gallagher who organises that competition. So we'll go into a little bit more details a bit later on. But let's focus a little bit on the age categories there, because he talks about different ages and playing off different tees to make it more fun. That was the word that he used there, and making the courses shorter as well. How important was it for you when you first started out to play on a course which wasn't too demanding? It was slightly shorter than an adult golf course.
It was a lot easier. I started on a little free course, but it was near enough. About, I think, 4,000, and I was 13 at the time, so I wasn't young age group, and it just, for stamina wise, because you know how big a course is, it's about long. You just don't understand that. When you're going onto a shorter course, you go, okay, this is a par 3, and then you go onto a bigger course, how different they are, help you with the progression to a little bit bigger, to big courses, for I think all the championship courses they've got.
I suppose it's also, you have to bear in mind as well, is that even if you put them off shorter tees, you put them halfway down the field, they still have to walk the course. So you might have to walk, a 400-yard par 4, even though you might only be playing 220 yards. And obviously, as we well know, golf courses they're not always flat, shall we say. So obviously, the stamina is something which junior organisers need to bring into, when they're thinking about how they organise a competition. You say you were a little bit older when you started playing out, though, but you must have been aware of some of the kids who have started out. And are you aware of instances whereby it's by giving them a shorter golf course, it's made it more fun and kept them in the game, whereby that they might have dropped out, if it had been a bit too much for them.
I wouldn't say necessarily it would be fun. I have been in doing situations, the Trent Lock Championship, when the match play finals there, all the young kids together, and they put them onto the small course, and they made it a lot smaller, and I was helping out in the, and they seem to be a bit shorter because they can't hit. We also did where they drop out of roughs and bunkers with no penalty, so a little bit more fun. Like you said, there's no enjoyability in having to play a par 5 because that's all. So it just makes things a little more shorter course.
Also, I mean, you mentioned about dropping out of the bunkers as well, just to make it a little bit easier. I mean, that's adapting the rules to make the competition more fun and also make it quicker to play as well. I'll give you an example of an event. This was a few years ago, which I was involved with, whereby we put them off forward tees, but we didn't actually think about the actual holes. So you mentioned Trent Lock there. I've actually been to Trent Lock, so I know some of the holes there. And guess what? A name like Trent Lock, it's got some water holes there. And I remember setting up a golf course. It wasn't Trent Lock, but I remember setting up a hole whereby we put the tees forward, but we put it in a position whereby when they hit their tee shot, it was almost impossible for them to not reach the water. So the people were getting the driver out and whack it into the water, whereby we thought we were doing them a favour, but actually we were actually getting it too close to the water, kind of thing. And also, if they didn't reach the water, they were on a downslope. So guess what? Their second shot was more difficult because they had to hit it up in the air, you see. So when you're organising a competition, you have to be aware of you're not dealing with adults, and is that something which you've been aware of as well, is the fact that sometimes when people organise competitions, they might get the format right, but they still have to adapt it slightly even within that.
Yeah, because you don't think junior and him, you don't like there's hazards over, there's bunkers that you don't think about them things because it's just, whereas juniors and him, they hit a ball, they don't care where it goes forward, or they go up and they get excited and put the club like that, and it does have that mentality of what would.
Now, you mentioned you were a very competitive golfer when you were young as well. We obviously heard a little bit earlier from Nathan talking about the Champion of Champions and it being a qualifier for that competition. If you were a junior and you were in that situation, is that something you would need to bear in mind, that kids might take it a little bit too seriously if they think, wow, I'm going to go and play in the Champion of Champions or the World Championships? Is that something whereby you have to be a little bit careful of?
To be honest, I am in nation at the moment. I'm club champion, and I'm going in Shropshire. Because put you in a different, honestly, because obviously if you don't, you're just playing with when you go into the champ, it's like it's a competitive side, and I can't really say no because I love that. So I wouldn't be able to say no because I am a competitive person in myself.
Okay, let's hear a little bit more about this Champion of Champions then. Like I say, it's played out in Ireland. Michael Gallagher, who runs the Irish Junior Open Tour, it was something he set up. Let's hear from Michael then. It was set up and held for the first time last year. So what was it all about? And let's hear a little bit more about it. Here's Michael.
In 2022, the Champion of Champions, which is it's a world championship event for junior champions from all across the world. So the minute there's close to 40 junior golf tours around the world that host qualifying tournaments, they basically send across their champions, and then their champions are invited to participate. There's also players from around the world that have they've no access to a qualifying tour, so they can apply for a special exemption provided they're a champion. So the whole ethos of the event is to bring the best junior golfers from all across the world to Ireland for a champions only World Amateur Golf Ranking event. So to say, last year was held at Lochgarn. It's been held again at this year at Lochgarn, the end of July. The 250 spaces, which is the maximum we can take, obviously with daylight, sold out in 28 minutes. There's 250 kids from 40 countries taking part in the event. We're actually in the process at the moment of trying to basically tie down a date and venue for 2024 to run the adult and junior champion of champions world championship. So more information will be announced shortly for it. But with the demand we've seen for the junior event, we've just been looking at how we can evolve and give the adults an opportunity to play with their junior counterparts in a world championship event. And so that's basically it. It started out in 2020. Obviously, COVID had a major impact on it, but the demand has just went through the roof. Like if we had the space for 700 kids this year, you'd easily have filled it. But obviously, that's impossible unless you have 5 or 6 courses within a short proximity to each other, and getting 5 or 6 courses in Ireland for 3 days consecutively, it's basically impossible.
And the format for that competition, this podcast is obviously about competition formats. So first of all, to mention is the fact that the tours and organisations which can qualify for that, it could be any format that they play to qualify. And what's the format that you use on the actual day or the 3 days?
So the Champion of Champions is just a stroke play, and it's gross scores. No handicaps are involved. Every single competitor plays off scratch. Basically any of the qualifying tours, we just give them a number of qualifying spaces, and it's up to them how they distribute them. So whether they want to distribute them in a Stableford event, a match play event, or however they want to distribute the invites, as long as we get the names of the champions and their email addresses, then there's no issues with regards what format they wish to host their events.
So when you say it's played off of gross, is it in age categories within that as well, or is it?
So there's 5 different age categories. There's under 7s, under 9s, under 12s, under 15s, and under 19s. And there's separate girls and boys categories. Obviously the younger ones, the under 7s and the under 9s they're playing 9 holes each day, front 9 holes, and they're playing shortened course. The under 12s are playing 18 holes each day. They're playing off a slightly shortened course as well. And then the under 15s and under 19s, they're playing the full course, and they're playing 18 holes each day. So it's a 54-hole event for them, and it's a World Amateur Golf Ranking tournament as well.
All right. So anyone, obviously this podcast is UK and Ireland, anyone who wants to get involved with the Irish Junior Open Tour, give you the opportunity, how can they get involved in?
Basically, all the information, it's the tournament management system is managed by Golf Genius, which do an excellent job. But if anybody wants more information, if they just go to www.irishjunioropen.com, all the information is on it. And as I said to you before, all our events are opened. Competitors can play in as many or as little events as they wish. And at each event there's qualifying opportunities for the Champion of Champions, and there's, like you'll see on our social medias, the prizes are always top class and the trophies are always top class. It's not just a trophy or a medal we hand out, it's a trophy or a medal and various merchandise and other opportunities. I would go as far as saying the prizes are, without doubt, we hand out the events they're the best in the UK and Ireland of any of the junior golf tours. They're always top class, and Ping, who sponsor the events as well, along with Flowgas, our main sponsors, they pump a lot of prizes and stuff into us. So it's great for the kids, and every competitor taking part receives a goodie bag, so nobody goes home empty-handed.
So that's Michael Gallagher talking about the Champion of Champions and the prizes which are involved with that. And prizes, obviously we're talking about competition formats, but prizes can be an important part of it, because obviously Let's go down the lines of gross and net, for example, because you're obviously a very good player and you can win a gross competition. But when you go into a competition, do you even look at the net prize? Because if you're being honest, you're probably really not going to be in a reckoning for that net prize, are you?
Not now. I used to look at that net prize and go, ooh. Obviously, I was a late bloomer, so when I won a few net prizes because with the gross, but now the net at all, because for me, I play off one. The only way that I'm going to prize is if I shoot 4 and.
But then, like you say, when you first started out, it was important then. And as an organizer, if there's someone watching this and they're thinking about setting up a junior competition, it is important to attract those players who are just starting out, give them the opportunity to win a net prize. But at the same time, don't forget about those ones who've been doing it for many years, who may now be looking more towards the gross competition. So therefore, it is important that the fact that they try and target both sets of players, isn't it?
Definitely. It does as well, because there's so like if you go to a club or club, I know the main prize is the gross prize, but then you've got under 14s, under 16s, under 8s, then you've got all your net, your gross prize. So it's not just a case of there's one person. They've actually inclusive for everyone else to.
Now, obviously, we've been talking about individual competitions. We are going to talk a little bit about pairs competitions as well, and we're going to hear from Michael Gallagher, who's setting up a big pairs competition over in Ireland, which well, actually we've got some breaking news as well as far as that is concerned. But let's talk about team events as well. When you were a junior, so the type of team events that you were playing and how important were they in your development as a golfer? Because, like you say, obviously, like every golfer, when you first start out, you would be perhaps of a high handicap, you might be a young golfer. So playing those team competitions with players who are better, how important was that in your development?
It was great to be. We used to play a junior and a lady player, and they used to both be Texas Scramble. Obviously, you all tee off and you pick the best ball out of the 4 and that ball, and then you keep going. And it just helps with juniors together. So you got 2 adults and 2 juniors, and if you got 2 experienced golfers, about 5 and below, it would be an absolute treat to play with them, because obviously for better players, you are admirable of you see what shots to play in out of bunkers or fairway, and you learn a lot from, inspired to be that person.
And obviously, I appreciate you're still a junior now, but you can probably look at it as well from an adult's point of view as well. It is good fun as well, playing with those younger kids as well. From 2 points of view, it's refreshing to see someone with a smile on the face playing golf as well. And also, if you're competitive like you are, it's helpful to have a young golfer there, because they bring a lot of shots with them. So that comes in very useful in a team competition, particularly the Texas Scramble, like you mentioned there.
Definitely. Well, so I do have that coin, because when I was the adults play and I admired them, now that I'm an adult, I get to inspire others, and it's amazing to this is what shot you should play. I'm unlucky or anything like that. It fills you with joy that June to learn from you. It's really say.
Okay, so we have talked about team competitions. There are some other individual competitions as well. I know there's an event which you've not, flag competitions as well. This is another good one, whereby to give people an idea about what a flag competition is. It's basically when you are given a certain amount of shots based on what your handicap is, and then you have a flag and you take it out with you. When you've reached your certain amount of shots, you put a flag in the ground, and whoever's flag is the furthest around the golf course, that's the person who wins the competition. So generally speaking, that's more for the younger golfers. It's more for just 9-hole competitions. But that's another way of doing these type of competitions, and they tend to be more fun competitions. And it's there are different ways of doing this. Like we said right away from the start when I was talking to Ian, there's no right or wrong format to do these competitions. They're just different ways of doing it. And I mean, how many different types of competitions did you play at a very young age? Because that's the thing, isn't it? It's fun to play different events, isn't it?
On the spot now. Played foursomes, Texas Scramble, stroke play, match play. I think that's about it. Generalised ones anyway, because the ones that you play most of, and like spin-offs. Like I think played Florida. Basically, instead of you all seeing, so you all pick the best ball and who picked, they're not allowed to play. It puts that spin on things. So instead of just random ends in different formats, kind of change what they've already done a bit more interesting.
Okay, let's talk about pairs competitions. Then let's bring Michael Gallagher back in, because this is an interesting pairs competition they're setting up over in Ireland, because this is a pairs competition, an adult and junior pairs event. So let's just hear him explain why they've set it up, the reasons behind it, and what they're looking to do with it. Let's hear from Michael.
We've actually run adult and junior events probably the last 4 or 5 years. Now, with 1 year of COVID, whenever ran any, but this is the first year where we've put together like a tour. So in our junior events, we've got 4 seasonal tours for the Darren Clark, the Payne Stewart, the Gary Player, and the Pink Trophies. This year, we wanted to create basically a 3-event tour for the adults to play along with the juniors. So anybody aged 20 and over can play with the junior aged 19 and under. So some people think it's a parent and child. It's not. It's an adult and junior, because you have some parents that don't play golf. You have the kids there that maybe have a friend that's 20, 21 that wants to play along with them in the event, or you have a granny or a granda that wants to play with their niece or nephew. So that's the reason and why we brought the events in a number of years ago. And as I say, this year we 3 events, and basically have like a leaderboard throughout the 3 events. Now, parents people can play in as many or as little events as they wish with all our events, but with this 3-event tour, it gives all the competitors an opportunity to sort of, see themselves get to the top of the leaderboard and try and stay there, throughout the 3 events, and the overall champions will receive a great prize.
Let's look at it from the child's point of view. What can they learn from playing alongside an adult?
The number one reason why these events came about was because obviously when you run a junior event, they're accompanied by an adult, whether that's somebody walking around with them, or the younger ones getting their bags carried, or somebody just driving them to the event. So what was happening was all the adults were basically sitting around, for 4 or 5 hours waiting on their kids to finish their round. So I just thought, why not give them an opportunity to go out and experience tournament golf with their younger, whether it be their son or daughter or whatever it may be. So that's how that came about. And the advantages for the kids is, they're playing in a tournament for the first time with their, 95% of the time it is either the mother or the father. But they're getting an opportunity to play in a competition and build life-lasting memories. I hear from the parents all the time, this is great. I've never played in a competition in my life with my son or daughter. This is fantastic, and it's a great experience, for the parents, and obviously for the kids, it's a great experience too, because they're playing in their normal club games, or walking around the club with their parents playing golf with them, or their granny or grandas, and now is an opportunity to get out in that tournament. And it's just, I probably find as well they're a bit more relaxed, because their partners taking the brunt of the scoring as well. In the events, sometimes you get the parents walking around and they maybe get a bit too involved, and if the kid is a bad hole, they're maybe down on them. Whereas in this format, it's 50-50. the parent, has to take half the brunt as well, or the adult has to take half of the brunt. So it has a lot of win-wins, and as I say, it's just it's a great enjoyable game. The format's 4-ball batter ball stroke play again, and it's basically the best score on the whole. So we have gross and net prizes, and then there's a few different categories, so that everybody gives everybody a chance. It took us a while to sort of fine tune it. At the start, some of the events, the net and the gross and all, the scoring was a wee bit, there was a big difference between the best and the worst scores. So we fine tuned it now to where we feel there's a great balance and an opportunity for everyone competing to have a chance to win a prize, which at the end of the day is all you want. You don't want it, some of the kids and some of the parents or the adults, entering into an event and realizing they've zero chance of winning anything. So, as I say, we're ever evolving, and we'll always take on what the feedback is from the competitors. The only issue you could potentially run into is maybe a bit of slow play, whereby the adult and the junior are maybe, they're reading putts too much, or they're going over and they're talking each other through the shot, and stuff like that there. So there is penalties in place for slow play. But in terms of having many issues with the 4-ball batter ball format, tends to be, and we encourage this, tends to be that if one of the players is having a bad hole, we encourage them, right? If the other player's on the green and they're putting for, say, a birdie or a par, and you're over in the bunker and you're looking at getting it up and down for a bogey or a double bogey, well, you know what? Lift the ball and encourage the speed of play to move on a bit. But the actual format wise, as I say, it runs reasonably smoothly.
If there aren't many, or if any, downsides, why aren't clubs and counties and junior tours running more of these types of competitions then?
I've been involved in the game of golf over 25 years, been a pro for nearly 15, and things don't change a lot. A lot of golf clubs, they like to talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Junior tours, I would say, they maybe just haven't. It sort of nearly takes a few junior tours to run a few other people to look in from the outside and say, what, let's try one of them there. I've actually had a few of the junior golf tours that we work with the Champion of Champions reach out and ask questions about the adult and junior events, because they're sort of getting to the stage now where they're thinking, what, that's a great job, it's a great initiative, and the benefits are great. So that's, I would say, you'll probably find a lot more of the junior tours now starting to run them in the next few years. But as far as golf clubs are concerned, it'll be few and far between, and you'll always find it's the ones that are proactive and encouraging junior golf that want to, put in new formats and encourage, adult junior events and stuff like that.
So that's Michael Gallagher from the Irish Junior Open Tour talking about his new adult pairs competitions. Just to give you an idea of the events that he's got this year, he's got one in May at Colleen, one in August at Spa, and then a 2-day event at Loch Earn in September. So he's certainly pushing it to try and get more of these adult junior pairs competitions. Is that something you played in or do play in, an adult pairs competition? Would that be a new one for you to play in?
For me as well. I've my parents in a competition at all. My grandparents play. I never really played in a competition with them. So real different experience to have.
I mean, Michael did say that it doesn't necessarily have to be with a parent. It can be with any adult that you play in these type of competitions. But as a junior, we mentioned when you're in a team competition where you could learn from them as well. And I thought it was very interesting what Michael said there about how the fact that by having them there together, actually it's a calmer environment, because you don't have the situation whereby the parent is almost feeling helpless by the sideline watching their child play in a competition, whereby they almost feel a little bit more responsibility because they actually have to go out there and play a bit of golf themselves. Is that something which you think is it could be a positive, and actually they might be able to take then into the individual and watching them in the sense of, this isn't quite as easy as I realise. This playing golf like.
Yeah, I do agree to be. Well, my parents didn't put me down. They didn't talk to me at all. But I've seen it get involved too much. And why did you do that? Or why did you do this? The kid down. It just put the if the adult then kind of get the force as well. Yeah. So it's not just that where the parent or the grandparent, something like that. It's all to do with team.
It was interesting as well. I mentioned to Michael about how and why other tours, other counties, other clubs don't organise these types of events as well. To mention, wearing the shirt here in the sense of I do some work for Warwickshire Golf. I organise their Junior Order of Merit, and this year we have got an adult and pairs, adult and junior competition as part of the Order of Merit. So it's been incorporated. That was even before I even spoke to Michael. And I have to say as well, we've got some breaking news as well, which I just saw on Twitter a couple of hours ago, that Michael is going to be organising an adult and junior world championships next Easter, April the 3rd to April the 5th. So, Michael, if you're watching, I am going to be in touch with you because we have got an event, like I say, next year in Warwickshire, an adult and junior pairs. So I'm hoping that some of my people who win that competition can play in your event next April. But as far as the pairs competition is concerned, let's talk about the different types of formats then, Courtney, because there's better ball, which is basically where the best score out the two of them play. There's foursomes whereby you play alternative shots, and there's greensomes whereby you tend to play alternative shots until you get to the green, and then you both putt and try and hold the putt kind of thing. Of those formats, presumably you played all of them. Is there any which you prefer than not prefer? Which one is your favourite?
Where you alternate shots all the time. People don't like it because you lose rhythm, but if you're playing with so you're a good driver, implement the game, especially if it's like I drive off, I get chipper and then chips it to about 4:30, and I think that's a play for me anyway.
I mean, going back to the point about the adult pairs competition, if it was foursomes, that would be there'd be some interesting conversations there, wouldn't it? Whereby if your parent or one of your dad or your mum or whatever or grandparent in your case, if they go and hit their drive out of bounds, so you have to walk back to hit the tee-shot, what kind of conversation you'd be having then?
Ridiculous, honestly. Well, there are some rules that if I'm for everyone or not, but. I think it's if you're a woman and a man drives it out to then play it off the men's team. True or not, but you're losing 50 yards.
That's a good point. And actually, I suppose these are the type of things which organisers of these kind of pairs events need to bring in. Now, obviously, we've touched upon lots of different types of events here. What we have to stress, and it is important that we do stress this, is that there's no right or wrong way of doing the junior golf event, because it's important that we all get the opportunity to play the different formats. So if there's any clubs out there, if there's any junior organisers, just test it out. Give yourself the opportunity to see how it works, see how these competitions run, see whether the kids enjoy it or not. And if it doesn't quite work out, don't ditch it completely. Reassess, have a look at what did and didn't work, and see how. I mean, is this something? Obviously, you work as an England golf ambassador. Is this something which you might take back to your home club and try and look at the events that they're running and say, well, why don't we try a pairs event? Why don't we try do something a little bit different?
Well, yeah, I think because we're struggling involved with anything. A junior open, someone that's around the play. But as club is concerned, we don't have many. So in that adult pairs, you can get your parent, a friend that plays there to come and play. I think it would really around the junior a little bit more.
All right, we'll bring him back in because we are running out of time now. But I think this that actually just talking about you going back to your club and talking about what you might be able to advise them about competitions brings us perfectly into our next Progress Junior Golf podcast, because the next podcast then we're going to be talking about committees at golf clubs. We're going to talk about giving juniors more of a voice, and I'm delighted to say we're going to have two England Golf Young Ambassadors on the next podcast in a couple of weeks' time. So, and that's going to be important, isn't it, to try and give juniors a voice. Obviously, we've heard from Courtney today, and thanks so much for coming along, Courtney. Obviously, your debut on the Progress Junior Golf podcast, but it is important that we do give the voice. What have you learned from this podcast, in the sense of you obviously cover it as a from a media point of view? Would you like to cover some of these different types of competitions, and how would you deal with it?
We spoke about it before, didn't we, Steve? Like, there's not many sports where there's so many different formats, and that in itself each format has its own level of entertainment and excitement, and that's kind of what makes the game a little bit special, doesn't it? The fact that there are so many different ways to play it, and there's no really right or wrong way. You can make up your own format as well, can't you? We spoke about greensomes. We spoke so many times about games where you play, you play with a pair against another pair, and you play a shot, but your rivals get to choose which ball is played, and there's so much fun you can have with that, and you can have a real giggle with it, and you can kind of, it's a bit of banter, it's a bit of needle, it's a bit of this and it's a bit of that, and I think we want to avoid it getting too gimmicky, because you don't want to lose the core and the element of golf, which is stroke play. If we liken it to cricket, Test cricket is the thing, isn't it? In cricket, that's like the pinnacle, and in golf it's stroke play. You win the Masters in stroke play. It's just how it is. But there's a lot of exciting formats out there. I am a big fan of match play. I'm a huge fan of match play, certainly from a broadcasting side of things as well, because most sports are person versus person, and that's what match play is. Whereas stroke play, you're kind of playing against yourself, aren't you? You forget about it. Doesn't really matter what everybody else is doing. If you're having a great round, then you're going to be unbeatable. You don't really have to psych anybody else out. Match play is a little bit different. And as you know, from my side of things with junior golf, this is about making sure people enjoy the game and stay in the game for the long term. So you don't necessarily have to give them stroke play. You don't necessarily, just make them have fun. And for me, that's what it's all about at young junior level. And then, of course, you start to get a little bit older, and it starts to get a bit more serious, and competitions come in. Still fun, of course. But I like what Michael's trying to do. I really do, because I think he's trying to change the formats a little bit. He's trying to make it a bit more accessible for people, and as I said before, I'm involved in a lot of sports outside of golf as well, and one of the key areas is the accessibility of getting involved, and that's a barrier for a lot of people, and golf struggles a lot more than any other sport. Football, you can just pick up a football in a sports shop for a few quid. You can't do that with golf. So it's a big investment. It's a huge investment, not just in financial terms, but in time terms as well. So you've got to make sure that there are different formats that people can enjoy from a young age straight through all the way to making it to the very top of the game. And I think what Michael's doing is a good pathway and a fair pathway for people to achieve that.
Well, hopefully we've given you an idea, if you've been watching this podcast, about the type of formats that you can do in junior golf. There are different ways of doing it. There are different ways of organising competitions, as he mentioned there, to try and make it as fun as possible. As Courtney mentioned as well, to try and make it competitive as well, to try and keep those competitive juices going. And from a media point of view, to make it more exciting for the viewers and the listeners out there, and all that kind of thing. So there are things out there, and hopefully we've helped a little bit in looking at this subject this evening. So thanks so much, Courtney, for joining us on the show. As we mentioned, the next Progress Junior Golf podcast is in 2 weeks' time on March the 15th, and we'll be looking at committees, to giving juniors a voice at golf clubs and golf counties. The two people, young ambassadors on the show, are Tom Ford and Zara Wartnaby. So really looking forward to getting those two on the show, and it's going to be another great show. Thanks very much for watching this evening. Ian will mention it's repeated again on Sunday as well. So if you do miss this, if you just joined us now, it will be shown again on Sunday, and of course it will be. You can watch it again as well if you go on the Progress Junior Golf website. It'll be on there in the next day or so.
Absolutely. Sorry, Courtney, I've just covered you with a QR code there. Do click the link. Don't forget, next Friday, the semi-final and final of the Sunningdale Foursomes. It is live. Make sure you head over to Live Sport. Thank you very much, Courtney. Thank you very much. That's how you watch it there. Make sure you hit subscribe. It's completely free to tune in and watch. If it's anything like last year, then boy oh boy, we're in for a treat. And it's on the new course at Sunningdale as well this year, not the old course, because it's the centenary year. So it's a big one. Make sure you tune in next Friday. Thanks for watching, everybody.
And of course, as we know, last year was a junior winner, so let's hope we get 2 juniors winning it this year as well. Thanks very much for watching this evening. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.